Here's an update on what we're doing at the moment. We've pretty much got it all plumbed up. I'll talk you through it. This is my electrician's idea. He's got a level of the pool. That's the level there at the moment. It's a bit high. And when it hits the three prongs in there, I think you see them, the bottom is the earth, and it electronically keeps the water between those top and the middle prongs. So if it comes down further than the bottom one, it'll open up this actuator valve and it'll put water into the pool. And when the pool fills up to the middle one, it'll turn it back off again. This one here is our chlorine dosing plant. I've got it turning on 5 times a day. 4 times it turns on and does a minute dosing, and in the middle of the night it comes on and does a 3-minute dosing. So it's putting 150 mils of chlorine in per day. I've just got this beaker on at the moment, and I've just set it up so that at the end of the day till 9 o'clock tomorrow morning there should be 45 mils left in there. And then that little top there, just screw it onto the chlorine bottle and away it goes. It's just straight into the piping there, just press fit into it. Seems to be right. That bit there is cut back. I'll nip that off there, and it was supposed to go straight up into this piece, but I had to run a whole extra line to the swimming pool because when the pump's on, that level would go up and down according to when the pump's on and off. So it was never stable enough, so I had to a whole new line all the way up to the pool. That there is how far below the pool we are. That's what about 1.5 meters, almost at the top of the roof there. So the floor here is probably below the pool by about 0.5 meter, I suppose. This one here is so that you can, if you turn off that tap just slightly, then you can open that and pour stuff in there while the system's going, even though we're 1.5 meters below the top of the pool. You turn that off, and if it's pumped a bit of air, we've got to just bleed the system a bit if a bit of air's come in. Yeah, that's all it takes. So that way we can, any other chemicals we can just drop into there. I'm going to stick that on the top for a bigger piece, but I can't do it at the moment because I blew the motor on my lathe. So I'm just going to try and figure out how to wire up the lathe again. This bit here, that's the wireless, well, Bluetooth or infrared or whatever it is, the receiver for the lights. It's 2-channel. There's 1 channel for 1 light, and there's 2 lights in the pool, so there's coloured lights. So what it is that one? No, not that one. That one there. So there's 1 light going. There's the other light going. Turn that off. Turn that off. And every time you turn it off and on, the lights will change colour. And there's another one of these going to go to this one here, and those are for the barbecue area lights. I'm going to put 1 light up in each corner. This here is a thermostat for the swimming pool. It's not going at the moment, it's only on 15 degrees Celsius is the water temperature, and that goes down to this one. And just in that little piece there's a resistance bloody thermostat sensor just sitting in there. That'll all this pipework will have insulation similar to this here on it. That in here is just a DC 12 volt DC power supply. Here is auto run for the chlorine dosing machine, and there's inside there's this one here. That's the timer for the chlorine doser. This one here is the electronics that turn on the automatic water level. That's a 12 volt power supply to run this one. This one here is the relays that turn the valves off and on for the swimming pool, and the valves off and on for the diesel heater. That one there is supposed to be a switch to turn the diesel heater on and off, so that when you want to service it. Don't want to stick my fingers onto anything that's too live. We also have this pump here is just running off an extension cord at the moment, but it goes into there so that you can shut the whole system down with one switch. We'll put a couple of switches on here to shut the whole system down if we need to. Yeah, this one here, that's so that you can take water samples. It just free drains back out of the pool. There's another, if you want to isolate the whole lot of this, you just turn that switch off. Valve. And that valve there off, and that isolates everything that comes out of the ground. And this one here is not isolated, so if we isolate those two, we can back drain it to empty the swimming pool out of that one. Just put a fire hose down through out the door. I just put this on this morning. I put a vacuum gauge. Usually have a pressure gauge on that, but we're actually pumping back up to the swimming pool, so we're drawing through this one. So if that gets blocked, the vacuum, they'll get a run on the needle with the vacuum, the negative pressure at least on there. But when I hooked it up, I noticed that if you turn it into a vacuum, that lid sucks down anyway. So I don't think we really need that. You just look at the lid. If the lid starts sucking down, you know it's got a bit of suction on it. Time to change the filter. Yeah, not much else to do. All I've got to do is put a hole in the wall for those wires, and I'll come in the back behind the wall, and I'll make a little box here, and we can bring the lights up to where we put the these wireless relays. I'm not sure what they are, wireless or infrared, or I don't think they'll be infrared, or they could be Bluetooth, I don't know. I'll look at the instructions. Never mind. I'm still, when I cut this back, I'm still going to have a little pipe coming out of it. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to key it into. Probably into here, or back and down into here, I think. Because I'll put this little tap on, and I'll put a one-way valve on it, so that you'll just dip a pipe into a beaker, and it should suck it straight up instead of having to put it down through there. So you can actually you can turn that tap on and nothing will happen, and as soon as you drop that, it'll start sucking, and then you can turn it off, and the one-way valve will stop it from coming back the other way. And then sorry, we'd turn that off, and then no air will get into the system when you're sucking it in. No air will end up airlocking this thing, and you won't have to bleed it. So I'll do that later on. In fact, I might chop a lot of this pipe work out and neaten it up a bit. Things changed. I started building it, and then things changed. So as we're adding and cutting things off it, that's why it ended up like that. But the swimming pool cover hasn't come yet, so we've heated it up and I've had a swim. Got it up to 30 degrees, but as we heated it up, when I put 8 degrees onto it one day to go and have a swim at 30 degrees, we turned it off that night and it dropped back to 34 degrees the next day. So without the top, we're losing so much heat, it's not worth keeping it running until the top comes. I think the top will be here in 4 days time. So in 4 days time I'll be able to turn the system on. I'll set, all you can do is just set this thing up to 30, I'll try it about 34, 35 degrees, and if it's not sitting on 35 degrees, just opens that valve. And when the valve opens, at the very top of the contact, there's 2 contacts on when the valve's fully open, and those contacts start the diesel heater up and the circulation for the pump in here, and it all starts up. Yeah, so all I've got to do now is just wrap all this. Depends, I might leave that piece on there unwrapped, because I might cut it all off and do it a bit neater, and have decent outlets for all these, the 2 pipes and bits and pieces that come in. We'll see. It's looking good anyway, I love it so far.